Hello and welcome to today's video. I'm kind of considering it a culmination of all the moves that have taken place the last 2 or 3 months. On the board, we have players and coaches that were let go from their teams that technically were under contract beyond, a couple days from now, as free agency officially begins and moves officially become official this week, when contracts actually are signed instead of just handshake agreements in a back alleyway. So we're going to go through this now that we're looking at a 5-region esport. I'm going to kind of include all tier 1 moves in these types of videos, which is, hell, it's like 40 teams, 50 teams or so, but it's just only a little bit more than it was 2 years ago, 47 teams. I apologize for that noise. Of course, when I want to upload a video is when, nonsense is occurring. So, Furia is the first team on the list. They made a couple changes. Westonway, their coach, they let him go early. 9-9 with the team. 9-9 with Furia. Just to coach this past season. 46-30-1 prior to that with Ose, often a coach in the OPL, and actually went to MSI once, going 2-4, replaced by ThinkCard. ThinkCard was NRG's coach the last couple of years. He was 91-110 over his career as a Tier 1 coach, and 4-10 internationally, going to Worlds twice with NRG in 2023, and I believe Clutch Gaming in 2020. Furia also allowed Wiz to hit free agency early. The jungler played only in summer, 3.8 KDA, 6.1 CS per minute, 75 KP. So the team definitely had him creating 3 out of every 4 kills, and a decent CS per minute. So that did indicate they were playing quite slow. I end up changing this after this, but he had a 19 gold share, 15-1 damage share, so negative 3.9 share percentage, 1.19 return on investment, which is damage divided by gold, up 185 gold and 75 XP. He is an import, keep that in mind as well. 4 solo kills and 16 champions played in 35 games. Zay, also allowed to leave. So Zay played with Furia in spring, had a good split statistically, actually. I rated him as the 3rd best support in CBLOL during spring last year. If you watched my prospect video a couple days ago, he's somebody I identified as a player that deserves, more praise than he gets. 2.8 KDA, 76.3 KP in spring. Very active. Your support has actually got a higher KP than your jungler. The support is the one making things happen. 0.92 damage divided by gold, 1.9 vision efficiency, and 9 champions in 16 games. Fluxo also made a couple moves. So On Meta was allowed to leave. On Meta, a coach with the team for a couple years, going 37-35 over their career entirely, 114-96 domestically, never getting to an international event. Scamber was their support. Had a 2.7 KDA, 74.1 KP, so also a creator for this team. 0.63 damage divided by gold, 1.8 return on investment, and 9 champions in 45 games. So much more traditional than a player like Zay. Zay's most played, I think, was Pyke, so that kind of gives you an idea when we compare those two players, just because they played in the same region, that they're very different, and that's why their return on investment was that much different. Cloud9. So Jojo Punacourt's allowed to go. We saw a lot of that going around the rumor mill and the things that happen behind the scenes, that Jojo may be going to Mad Lions Koi, and it's all just a formality at this point. Obviously, a very, very good player, especially for his age. A player that had an opportunity, supposedly, to go to the LCK last year. I'm sure he regrets that decision, because, hell, you could have been the first North American player to start in LCK. But, it's kind of crazy that there may be a situation where we're going to have a North American player imported to another. 3.2 KDA, 9.4 CS per minute, 67.5 KP over the split. So 2 out of every 3 kills, strong CS per minute, 5.1 share percentage, so is definitely dealing a lot more for his team than he's receiving in gold. 1.55 return on investment. I had 200 gold, 175 XP, 11 solo kills, 16 champions, 47 games. Of course, Cloud9 were a disappointment. A team that was expected to go to Worlds that didn't. In spring, he was my first team All-Pro for mid lane. We also have Berserker, 6.3 KDA, 8.5 CS per minute, 74.6 KP. So the team definitely fought around Berserker this past year. Makes sense. He's, I would say, their best player. But now that he's been allowed to leave, we'll see where he goes. You know, a guy that never actually made it to LCK, you know, Cloud9 ended up being able to kind of sneak him away from T1. Never would have had an opportunity to play over Guma. Unfortunately, playing in North America, I feel like really stagnated his career. 3.7 share percentage, 1.49 return on investment. So, JoJo, more efficient than Berserker in terms of damage. 210 gold ahead, down 65 XP, 2 solo kills, and 11 champions in 47 games. Just one moment. Okay, sorry about that. Next, we have 100 Thieves, Meech. Meech, a player that I thought really didn't deserve to be booted. I understand 100 Thieves may have slightly benefited with Tomo in the lineup, got them to Worlds, etc. Personally, I had 100 Thieves making Worlds either way. So, with that in mind, I mean, I think they could have made it with Meech as well. Just because they were struggling a bit at the time, I still think Meech could have turned it around. A young player with a lot of potential, but was let go early. So, 3.3 KDA, 7.5 CS per minute, 65 KP, of course, because the majority of his games occurred during the Senna meta. His CS is in the dump. 4.2 share percentage, 1.72 return on investment. So we compare that directly to Berserker. Much more efficient than Berserker in those categories, which is something interesting, which is why Meech in spring for me was second team All-Pro. Down 580 gold, 690 XP, Senna meta. I'm sure if we took Isla's numbers, those would be much better. 2 solo kills and 12 champions, playing 37 games. In the LPL, JDG Warhorse was allowed to go. Warhorse was their coach for only summer, going 10-4 between placements and round robin play. World champion in 2019 with FPX, 103-53 over his career, 27-1 in LMS, was the coach of Flash Wolves to start his career, and 28-14 internationally. One of the best coaches in the business, which is a surprise they got rid of him. But it seems like JDG are kind of taking a step back. Ruler was allowed to leave early, of course, one of the best AD carries in the world. One of the best ever, if not the best ever. 5.1 KDA, 99 CS per minute, 65.2 KP. 3.6 share percentage, 1.47 return on investment. 275 gold ahead, and 15 champions, 113 games. LPL stats not as, if you're new to the channel, other people have heard me say this hundreds of times. LPL doesn't give us as many stats and definitely not as reliable with stats. I think spring we didn't have vision. Summer we did. We might have had gold both splits. That's why I included gold difference. But we know JDG had a star-studded roster alongside missing. Ruler was going to, you're looking at maybe the best bot lane duo in the world combined. We'll see where he goes. He should be one of the, outside of like Chovy, you're looking at probably the most sought-after free agent. Anyone's Legend, Ale. So Ale technically was still under contract if you look back at when he signed with EDG. But with Anyone's Legend, he was allowed to leave early. 2.6 KDA, 8.5 CS per minute, 52.8 KP between EDG and Anyone's Legend this past year. Good player, solid player, does their job at a high level. I'd consider him in that top 10 to 12 top laners in the world. 0.2 share percentage, so gives as much as he gets. 1.33 return on investment, 245 gold ahead, and 17 champions in 75 games. In the LCK, Nongshim RedForce made quite a few moves. Questionable, but at the same time, I mean, given their development pool in terms of prospects, they usually have decent players behind these guys, but allowing both top laners to go was a puzzling move. Miley played 29 games in summer for the team at the top level. Had a 1.9 KDA, 8.3 CS per minute, 54.4 KP. I mean, died a lot. Nongshim weren't that great. Negative 1.3 share percentage. So look at Ale. Ale technically positive. Miley not so much. So kind of goes to show you just like efficiency wise, you know, it's a young player. That's what's going to happen. 1.28 damage divided by gold. On average against LCK tops, behind 460 gold and 100 XP. 5 solo kills, 7 champions in 29 games. Now with Din, who started with Nongshim to begin the year and played with Nongshim last year, he went down 2 challengers for quite a large portion of this past season. So out of the 72 games that I have here as the set, 17 of them were challenger games, so keep that in mind. 1.8 KDA, 8.4 CS per minute, and a 47.5 KP. So 47.5, we can compare it right directly to Miley a bit. So the KDA and CS are very similar, but the KP quite different. So Din more on an island, not involved with the team as much, right? We're simply below 50% KP. But Miley is above it, so one is more likely to fight with the team than the other one. Negative 1 share percentage, 1.19 return on investment, which makes sense. He's not fighting as much. He's not dealing as much damage. But still, even when we take into account that 1/4 of the games, roughly, were challenger games, he still was behind 380 gold, and 240 XP. So I could see why maybe they wanted to move on from him. Now, he is a young player and probably deserved a longer leash. It's not like Nongshim were doing great without him. They still struggled. 18 solo kills, 14 champions in 72 games. In mid lane, you have Calmy. Calmy is a very efficient player. I thought he was definitely a player that deserved more of an opportunity this season, but he only played in 35 games, mostly in, this is actually, the more I think about it, this is a spring set. He played 1 game in summer, and then the rest of the summer split in challengers, so I just went with his spring stats. 2.1 KDA, 9 CS per minute, 72.5 KP, and a 6.6 share percentage. So very efficient. The team is giving Jiwoo a lot of the gold, giving Din a lot of the gold, or Sylvie. Calmy not as much, and Calmy is leading the team in damage. A player that I think, we see, I think Miley and Calmy have already been signed to ERL teams. That ERL team has a really good chance at making some noise in Masters, in my opinion, with these two players. 1.56 damage divided by gold. Down 130 gold. In the LCK is a very young player. I mean, hell, that's better than players that have been there for much longer. 10 XP ahead, so relatively even. 5 solo kills, 9 champions, 35 games. Geiger, their support, 30 years old, coming back from military, somehow was starting over Peter. I don't get what that was all about. 1.6 KDA, 66.4 KP, 0.72 damage divided by gold, 1.89 return on investment, 9 champions, 29 games. I really don't get what this was about. I don't know why he was in the lineup. Vital seems to be their support as of the moment. Vital role swapped AD carry. Dplus KIA. So Moham was allowed to leave. Moham was technically under contract with their academy team beyond this November. 3.5 KDA, 71.1 KP this season. 0.72 damage divided by gold, 1.9 vision efficiency. 14 champions in 70 games. Yes, I included the entire season. Technically, half of these games he played with the big club. The second half of the games. The first half he did not, as he replaced Kellen in the lineup. I don't believe Moham made that team better. I think Kellen is better than Moham. I've said that a few times. It's just a matter of flavor of the week. The team was winning games, but technically it was really winning games with Kellen as well, and that bot lane duo was top 3 in the world. not top 3 in the world, top 3 in the region prior to the swap. And then after the swap, they still were, because Aiming was getting a ton of resources and was the MVP in the LCK, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's a thing. Zephyr was allowed to leave. The coach returned to Dplus after a year away. Went 22-14 this past season. 3-6 internationally. Now, over his career, he was 42-25 internationally, winning Worlds in 2020 with Dplus KIA. So that's a thing. Or Dplus Gaming, whichever name they were going with that year. And he's 138-78 over his career as a coach. One of the better coaches in the business. People can say this, that, and the third about his drafts and whatever, but the win rate speaks for itself. Now being replaced by Bangy. Bangy really hasn't been much, he hasn't really coached that much. So internationally, is he internationally 22-13? He might be domestically 22-13 and internationally 25-11 or vice versa. Was on a staff for one split with T1 early on. Then ended up coaching Academy. We don't count Academy win rate. And then coached T1 during 2022 Worlds, where they finished runner-up to DRX, and then coached through spring of 23, going to MSI, going 17-1 in the regular season, but then being let go, and Coma coming back. So that is a thing. And Bangy is now Dplus's head coach. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, Zephyr was a good coach too. Arguably maybe a better coach than Bangy. I mean, he's won Worlds. Bangy has. I mean, as a coach, Bangy has not. So, of course, obviously world champion as a player, but coaching and playing are two different things. So, that's just the first, probably 2/3 of the moves. Now on to the last bit. Okay, now for Europe and APAC. So, KC allowed Closer to leave. Closer, technically, when he signed, was under contract beyond this year. 2.7 KDA, 5 CS per minute, 73.3 KP, facilitator through and through, trying to make things happen. The opposite of Bo. KC went from one extreme to the other. Excuse me. Negative 3.9 damage share. 0.96 return on investment. Down 235 gold, 310 XP, 8 champions in 21 games. With Closer in the lineup, the team did have a better win rate than they did with Bo, so that is a thing. They improved, but they also probably improved because they got Kana and Vladi as well, and got Cabo and Seiken out of there. Getting rid of two fan service, in my opinion, additions at the time, and replace them with better players. So that just kind of is what it is with that. SK, Swiffer was allowed to leave. Swiffer 44-46 as their coach, going 8-1 to end it in summer round robin. Of course, it doesn't include, groups and playoffs. Niski, of course, one of the better facilitator mids in the West. In winter, I had him as the second team All-Pro. 3 KDA, 8.6 CS per minute, 67 2 KP, 2 out of 3 kills, involvement, low resource. 6.3 share percentage. Because he's low resource, that's going to boost that a bit. It's going to help him. But at the same time, very efficient. 1.62 damage divided by gold. And technically not that far off laning-wise. Up 80 gold, down 120 XP, so pretty much even. 9 solo kills, 18 champions in 52 games. Luan also allowed to leave, a player that joined the squad out of relative, nobody really knew who he was. I don't even know, relative, there's a word I'm looking for, but either way, not many people knew he was. Alongside Rahel, did a pretty decent job, of course, left a lot to be desired towards the end of the split, but, I don't think he really had been, when he joined the team, it was a puzzling move for them. But, it is what it is. Now we'll see if he goes to ERLs and kind of does, revitalize his career a bit. 3.7 KDA, 74.1 KP, 0.62 damage divided by gold, 1.82 vision efficiency. 9 champions in 19 games is pretty good. But the 74.1 KP, very involved with SK's game plan. Now in APAC, CFO, CTBC Flying Oysters are still a team as the consolidation of Southeast Asia's regions has taken place, or Asia in general. Aki, 4-9 over his career as a coach internationally. 6-10 in the LPL as a coach. Technically, when he debuted, he was, technically on a staff with BLG, and they went 6-10 in that split. And then afterwards, he would then join CFO, going 60-33 in the PCS. Karsa, long time, obviously MSI champion, I believe. A player that definitely, we know who he is. Long-time PCS standout. 4.1 KDA, 6.4 CS per minute, 71 KP. I mean, dropping down from the LPL to PCS certainly helped. He was third team All-Pro, both splits, behind Junjia, and I forget who the other player I had is All-Pro 2. Negative 3.4 damage share, 1.16 return on investment. Up 15 gold, 115 XP, so relatively even. I mean, 19 champions in 71 games shows the experience that Karsa has, of course. Can play pretty much anything at a high level. He could play in the PCS for quite a bit of time. I'm actually, CFO, similar to C9. CFO were a team that I expected to go to Worlds, but didn't. Sword Art as well. Obviously a player that's closer to the end of their career than Karsa, in my opinion. Sword Art definitely leaving a lot on the table. 4.3 KDA, 73.2 KP. So let's look at those two. You see that Sword Art has a higher kill participation. Maybe if you look at Gory may have 70 or so as well. But just between these two, Sword Art getting more done for the team than Karsa in the facilitator aspect. 0.82 damage divided by gold, 1.82 vision efficiency, 17 champions of 71 games, and spring second team All-Pro. Vikings Esports allowed a lot of players to leave. Half of the team that won them games and playoffs to even go to Worlds in the VCS. So Nanu in top lane debuted in summer, and I thought he did pretty well given the circumstances. But, with the consolidation of things, there may be better top laners from teams that no longer exist, and it's kind of just the deal. 2.2 KDA, 7.8 CS per minute, 51.7 KP. 0.3 share percentage, so actually positive in that regard, which is good. 1.5 damage divided by gold. On average, behind 225 gold, 280 XP, but he did play at Worlds, so keep that in the back of your mind. 30 solo kills and 11 champions of 47 games, so the solo kills are a big aspect there, right? Very aggressive. Younger players tend to be that way. Tamrio in the jungle played 10 games during summer playoffs, and that was it. 5.4 KDA, 6 CS per minute, 71 KP, negative 3.1 damage share, 1.22 damage divided by gold. Actually was ahead of his opponents, 35 gold, 235 XP, which is nice coming off the bench and in playoffs, putting up some good numbers. 2 solo kills, 5 champions, 10 games. As support, we have BA, who I had as the summer All-Pro first team support. BA, in my opinion, one of the best minor region supports in the world. He and Shogun, obviously, really disappointed me at Worlds. That's no secret. They played like crap. But looking at BA's entire body of work, it speaks for itself. 4.4 KDA, 70.4 KP, 0.93 damage divided by gold, which is, nearly 1 for 1. And that's in part to his champion pool. 1.77 vision score efficiency. And like I said, 19 champions, 81 games, some carry-oriented supports in there. BA can be very aggressive, get things done. An aspect that I really like in a support. So we'll see if BA ends up making one of these two rosters or another. Frankly, he should. I don't think you're going to find, 3 better supports in Vietnam than BA. But also you got to remember, now that it's consolidated, PCS supports end up in there, Japanese supports. So it's definitely going to be a thing. GAM Esports have brought in a couple players. So a lot of these players were leaving their team, but in the case of Ares and Artemis, they've been brought in. So Ares, young player, very different than Emo though, very lane dominant, higher resource. We saw Emo not so much, losing lane big time, even domestically, and then going into Worlds and kind of just like, hey, don't die, and see if you can do something on Yone, and hell, it made GAM look decent. Now, Ares is a player that's very different. 5.2 KDA, 9.6 CS per minute, 64.5 KP, point, but, so we look at the first three. It's not dying, which is good. High resource, a lot of farm, and, you know, less than 2 out of every 3 kills, so kind of doing his own thing. I think they played on Team Secret. 0.6 share percentage. So all these resources, not a lot of damage. 1.37 return on investment. So did not do a lot with those resources, which is not a great look. We don't like that. We want higher ROI. If someone's giving you a lot of gold, do something with it. 385 gold ahead, 230 XP, 20 solo kills, 18 champions of 71 games. Now, stat-wise, though, great 2 seasons. I mean, splits. In spring, he was 3rd team. In summer, he was 2nd team. So, you're not going to find a much better mid laner to put in mid for GAM. And then Artemis, who we saw play with Team Wales 2 years ago at Worlds. I feel like a lot of people may just have forgotten that Artemis existed. 4.2 KDA, 9.7 CS per minute, 64.3 KP. 3.1 share percentage, 1.46 damage divided by gold. So once again, a player that leaves a little bit in the damage department. Hopefully this changes with GAM. You know, with Levi and Kia and whoever else Hand-Up might go with at support. Whomever they might go with at support. I don't know why I worded it the way I did. Up 110 gold, 100 XP. 8 solo kills, 19 champions in 75 games. Spring, all-pro 2nd team. Summer, all-pro 3rd team. So they definitely improved over Emo and Easy Love. Top side is the strong part of this team. But now with a younger mid in Ares, I think that they have a chance to, you know, be much more competitive. And who knows? It wouldn't be a shock to me if this team does finish 2nd or even win the PCS. I mean, APAC. PSG is going to be a tough team, of course. We'll see what their roster ends up looking like in the end. But GAM will be just as competitive. So that's kind of a wrap-up of what's happened the last couple months in terms of players leaving teams early, being allowed to be let go. Not just looking for opportunities, because if a player can't be bought out, there's a chance a team will say, okay, well, we're going to keep them. These players were let go. They're technically free agents right now. So thank you for watching. If you like the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.